Contrarians, welcome back to the Encrypted Capital recap for Tuesday, January 4th. We're finally getting to answer some of your guys' questions today. I got my partner Rocky here. We had some people talking about crypto in the Discord, and we wanted to make sure that we answered you guys. And so now we are finally both in the office today to do just that. We may also get into some price predictions and some other stuff. So really just going to be freestyling it today. So Rocky, what up, dude?
Hello, how you guys doing? Good to be back.
So yeah, let's just dive right into it. Why don't you start rattling them off, Rock?
Sure. Well, I think a lot of these questions are many questions that I have as well, being relatively new to the space. But one that I thought was important was when we do see these corrections in the market, which we've seen a lot of, when is the best time to start to reinvest? Is it the day of? Do you wait for some indicator to purchase those assets as they've been on a red day, so to speak?
Yeah, as far as like reinvesting goes, so I think our whole methodology throughout all of this is buying these assets when they're down, 10 to 20%, from the previous day. I think that is a good way to dollar cost average in. I think generally speaking, I mean, timing these markets is so hard. Timing tops, timing bottoms, timing perfect entries. Like, yeah, you guys can use the Fibonacci retracement tools and you guys can buy near support or buy near trend lines and all that stuff. But I think the most important thing is to not buy on a green day when everything, like today, look at to the right of the board here, everything is up, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15%. Use this change percentage and go ahead and see, what's, today IOTA is like off 6%. I wouldn't say that's a strong buy, but at least you're buying something that's down, right? But I think the sweet spot is, 15 to 20% pullbacks. And then as we
Right.
saw back on December 3rd, you get that 40% correction here. And, that there's your prime buying opportunity. But guess what? That's also like the scariest time to buy for most of these traders because they're thinking the bottom's going to fall out and they're going to lose all of their money. But that's kind of the risk that you have to take. But even like the other day, like we put this out in our newsletter, I'll link it below here. We said that we were buying Tezos in this area here. And so we dropped that to all our members. And right now, I mean, we're up 25.4% over the course of 5 days and 17 hours. So those gains are possible, but know that you're going to end up getting those pullbacks. And, if you get a 25% drop now, maybe that would be the time that you'd want to go ahead and enter, right? If it
Right.
falls back to where it just came from, or if it comes back down, 10, 12, 15%, it's better to be buying down here than it is to be buying up here. And so I think as long as you stick with buying on red days, if you have dry powder, you got free capital and you can go ahead and lower your average entry price, go ahead and do it. So to answer your question, I think buy on red days, don't buy on green days, and buy in particular when you're getting assets at like 15% off, I think is a
Yeah,
good
and I
way.
think, you've mentioned it multiple times, not being a day trader. So, I mean, you really have to look at that, and that throws in the patience side of things where
Mm-hmm.
you just try to buy on the red days and wait it out, although that's difficult to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the patience is such a huge factor when it comes to being an investor in the crypto space. If you're an investor, then, inherently you have time to let your positions play out. It's the day traders, it's the people that are using money that they don't have or can't afford or are over leveraged that need the price to move, in whatever direction immediately. Those are the guys that and girls that end up getting wiped out because the patience isn't there. I think Warren Buffett said that playing the stock market and winning in the stock market is really just money flowing from the impatient to the patient. And shit, man, we've been patient for 3 years now, waiting for this XRP, and
Good.
we had some yeah, we had some nice run ups, in the DENT and tells earlier in the year, January through I think
Yeah.
April and May, even May 15th, I think was the top for most of those assets that actually did move significantly. But 90% of those assets, like we talked about the other day, they still haven't done anything. Zcash, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum Classic, all those top assets that are in the grayscale portfolio really haven't done a whole lot. And so I think those are where people need to align themselves. You're not going to be trying to align yourselves in things that have already gone up, 10,000%. There are those few micro cap and medium cap coins that have done that, but I would not be positioning myself in those, knowing that there are better assets out there that are still, 80% off. And actually, I pulled up for you guys in case you're new to the channel and you haven't seen it yet. You can go to Coin Paprika, and I've shown this in the Discord. You guys can join that too. That's for free. But go ahead, click the all-time high, and then click the percentage to all-time high, and it'll give you the top ones that are in the top 100. And right now, Zcash is sitting at the top, 97% off of its previous all-time high. I'm not sure how accurate that is. At $5,941. I think that was when it debuted, and I don't know if you want to take that into account, but you can go down the list. I know Dash, for instance, that's a legitimate number, $1,642, 91% off its all-time high. That's where you guys can kind of go dig in, do your research, use this as a tool to find assets that are significantly off their all-time high, and then go ahead and do your research on the teams and find out what the best ones are. Bitcoin Cash, for instance, another one, $4,300 for the all-time high, 90% off the all-time high, trading at $430. That's a steal in my opinion. You have Roger Ver backing the asset. He's a multi-billionaire. He's one of the first evangelists of Bitcoin. Doesn't take much to kind of go and dive into this stuff and really analyze what might be a good play for you. And if you can go ahead and spread your money around, let's say 10 different assets, and you align yourselves in a majority of the right ones, even if you did pick a dud, well, you got 9 other ones to back it up that are gonna, help you through that. So
well, and that's to the point of having a few of them go off early, reallocating your funds and trying to double up too.
Yeah, the rebalancing I think is the most important part, aside from getting in great entry prices. Finding these assets that are 90% off their all-time high. Going ahead and allowing them to mature, and then recycling those profits into other suppressed assets. I mean, that's how you go from making 10x. So let's say you start out with $1,000, one of those assets goes up, and now you have $10,000. It did a 10x, and then you go and you funnel. You can exit that asset completely if you wanted to, which we don't do. I always keep a little bit in just in case I'm wrong and it goes up even higher. I still want to take that ride, but let's just say you did exit out your entire position. And so now you've basically made 10x your money, and then you go and you funnel that into another asset, and that asset does another 10x. Well, guess what? You've turned that $1,000 now into $100,000 by just moving your money at the appropriate times. And so those are some of the strategies and stuff that we go over for our members and whatnot. But you guys can do that too if you're not signed up, and just go ahead, rebalance those assets. Maybe you take half out and you funnel them into something else, and you build up your position, or you find a new asset, or whatever the case might be. That's mathematically how you will make the most money possible.
Well, it sounds great, but and I agree with it wholeheartedly. But when do you take money? Our man Radius was asking, when can you recognize the price is in? The price is at that point where it's time to move.
Yeah, and so like we talked about earlier, like timing tops and timing bottoms is probably the hardest thing to do, especially in the crypto market with how volatile everything is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the best strategy, and what we do, is we dollar cost average in and we dollar cost average out. And in order to really capitalize on that, instead of taking out maybe like the same amount, let's say you go ahead and you pick out 5 different exit points, right? And maybe let's say you're in an asset, it's trading at $1. It starts and now it hits $25. You're up 25x your money, right? But you think there's a chance it can go to $100, right? That's what the charts are telling you. You know that the previous all-time high was $10, and now you're past that. And on average, most assets do 5 to 10x their previous all-time high or more. So now let's say you're up 25x your money. Well, maybe that's the point where you pull out, let's say, 20% of your funds, 30% of your funds, 40% of your funds, whatever that number is for you. And then let's say now it goes up to $50, and now you want to take out even more money. Now maybe you're taking out another 40%, and then it goes up to $75. And then by that time, maybe you only have 20% of your position left in that asset. I think that trying to time these things is going to be so difficult. And when these assets do go parabolic, you will still see a 50% correction. Like if XRP goes up to $7, $8, there's a very high chance that it comes back and it tests that previous all-time high of 360, right? Generally speaking, you're getting that 50% correction. So like, let's say my target for XRP then would probably be double whatever the all-time high is, because I know that there's probably going to be a back test of that price level of
Right.
$3.60. So I can pull some money off the table at $7, assuming that it's going to go and retest that. It might not. I could be wrong, but I still got money in the market. But in case I'm right, though, now I can exit 20% of my position. I can go ahead and either take that and buy something with it and enjoy my profits, or I can save it assuming that it's going to drop, and now I can re-enter. And now that 20%, I'm getting another, I'm basically doubling my assets at that point because it's dropping 50%. So now I'm buying in lower, and now I'm buying in double, essentially at that price point. And now that small adjustment that I just made, buying in on a retrace of 50%, mathematically now as that goes higher, if you go ahead and do the math on that, you're going to make so much more money if that asset does go in, what we're all hoping XRP does, it goes to 30, 40, $50. That small move right there has increased your holdings drastically when you start getting into those other multiple percentage gains, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it goes from $7 and now goes up to, now it's at $30. You're crushing the game. And if you're wrong, who cares? You still have 80% of your money in the market if it still continues to go up and it doesn't back test that price point. But generally speaking, what happens is these traders, they're going to start jumping on when they see these green candles. They're going to over leverage themselves, and then that 50% drop is going to wipe out everybody. It's going to go
Yeah.
ahead and capture all that liquidity again, just like we saw on December 3rd. That will happen throughout the market. They're not going to give the retail traders a free ride. They're going to shake the tree a little bit. And so that's why, you want to have, if you are trading on margin, just a super low debt ratio of like 10, 15, 20%, whatever the case might be. That way, if it does drop 50%, you're not going to get liquidated. So,
Well, yeah, I think I learned that the hard way, or I think everyone learns it in their own way. But with DENT, you kind of have this hope. You talk about DENT going to $1, and you see the yacht floating in the backyard. It's I think that kind of colludes your mind. And when you could have taken some profit and done something else with it. So I think in the future it's something to always kind of, what was the saying? Taking profit's never a bad idea.
yeah, I mean, everybody's in this market to make money and win. And if you're taking profits, you're winning. And it doesn't matter really where it's at. A profit is a profit.
Right.
And so you got to kind of break free of that mindset of, oh, if I would have left my money in, I could have made X percentage more, or whatever the case might be. You just got to kind of be thankful that, number one, you have the foresight to be in this market in the first place. Number two, you're not losing money, you're actually making money, right? And then you can go ahead and, if you play your cards right and you dollar cost average out, you can make the most out of it and get an average exit price. You're never going to time it perfectly. And even if you do, I mean, that's like a 1 in 10, 50,
Yeah.
100 chance that you're going to time the market perfectly. So it's just having that foresight, knowing that, for instance, like Ethereum, right? Ethereum is now up, or at the high, it was up roughly 5x, okay, from the previous all time high. So use that as a marker, right? Say, like, for instance, DENT, right? The DENT all time high was 10 cents. A good price target, then, in my opinion, would be probably somewhere around 50 cents. So guess what? At 10 cents, I'm going to pull profit because I know that there's a good chance we get back testing some other previous price level. If we're wrong, like Tell did not do that. Tell just blew right through a penny. That was its previous all-time high. It blew right through a penny, and the penny became the floor, and it back tested it after it already went up another 5x
Mm-hmm.
of the previous all-time high. And so, you assume it's going to do that in other assets, and
Don't tease
you
me.
end up being wrong, right? So I think that using that marker, let's shoot for 5x the previous all-time high and see where we're at. But I
Right.
sure as hell I'm going to be taking profits at the previous all-time high, at least a little bit, and I will start scaling out of my positions as if I'm shooting for 50 cents, I'm going to pull some money off at 20 cents, 30 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents, and then I'm going to let some ride in case we're really crushing it and it wants to blow past the dollar and do some crazy, like, 2017 XRP run where it goes from fractions of a penny to multiple dollars.
Wow.
I want to go along for that ride, but I do want to make sure that I'm capitalizing on these markets and I'm not a dummy just holding on for green candles
Right.
and then I'm left holding the bag, right? So
Yeah.
it's a delicate balance, and I think that's
I think
what
it
you
happens
got
to a
to,
lot of people.
yeah, that's what you got to realize. Like, everybody's gonna think they're a genius. Like, if you go back and you look at Tron, for instance, Tron went ahead and it did 15,000% in 1 month. So I'm going to pull that up on the chart here. Bear with me. We'll go ahead to the weekly here. and you guys can just see like how fast these moves are, how quick you need to be in these markets, knowing that your window of opportunity is minimal. I mean, who would have thought that Tron going up the way it did from the lows here? So November of 2017, we'll start it from back there. We'll be generous here, and we won't even go to the breakout. Um,
What
Let
was
me
this?
line this up here.
2017.
Yeah, 2017. Okay, so 22,000% roughly, and you had 56 days to capture that. And if I'm really being honest with myself, you had a lot less time than that. I mean, you're dropping that closer to 30 days. If we go from the breakout here, that's insane though. I mean, if you were to tell the average person like, oh yeah, you're gonna get 20,000% in, you know, 30 days, 27 days, no one's gonna believe you. That's crazy. 28 days, 17,000% roughly.
Well, that's the dream.
So I mean, imagine that. That's crazy. I mean, that's 170x your money. So $1,000 gets you 170K. But how many people thought it was going to still go up after that 1 month? Oh, it's only been a month. I'm just getting into the markets now, and it already went crazy. It's going to go even higher. People are going to have that mindset, and they're going to end up riding it all the way down. And yeah, even if you did get in at these lows and you wrote it to the retrace and you finally realized you should have exited your positions, 3 months later, you're still going to be up significantly. But you want to take profits when they're there, and when you start to see something, you know, you're either going to have 1,200% profit if you finally realize they get out, or 20,000, right? What would you rather have? They're both great gains, and you're making money either way. But that's what we talk about, getting your feet planted in these assets that still have yet to do anything is so crucial. Like, this is why we love Tezos so much, is because it's literally just been ranging, accumulating, hasn't done anything. But yet you go and look up how much money they have in Bitcoin on the balance sheet, and it's like 9 figures, right? So where is all that money going to go into? You know, it's just literally been trading in a range. And this reminds me a lot of like where Chainlink was back in the day. But Chainlink was one of the first ones to really pop off during this, it wasn't an official alt season, but it was one of the first altcoins to really start making some crazy moves. And before it went up and went crazy, the chart looked very similar to this. And so that's why, very bullish on Tezos for that reason. Is literally just been hovering in a range between, roughly $1 and, $8, right? So
Yeah.
that's not much. And now you're getting it for $5. And I still think that 3 figures is definitely possible for Tezos, because there's just so much money behind it. And you had the McLaren news, so they're on the McLaren team. You had the NFT news that Rarible is going to be utilizing the Tezos blockchain for the NFTs. All this awesome news is coming out, and the price still hasn't done anything. And that's what I really like to see, is that great assets, great teams, great partnerships hasn't done shit. That's where you want to be. And so, and now here we are, $5.22, and imagine just getting a nice quick 20x on this. I mean, it's possible. Could definitely blow off. So we'll see what happens, but that's why you want to be aligned in different assets in case you're wrong and it doesn't go off as high as you think, or as much as you think, or whatever. At least you have other assets to back you up.
Yeah, and when we're talking about, and that's really good information, and we're talking about patience. When we're looking at long term, Jared had a good question about, we have our Hail Marys and things like that we're, doing the hope strategy. What are the ones that are, you feel that 3, 5, 10 years are going to stand the test of time, he asks?
Yeah, I think that really just boils down to the ISO coins. I mean, those are your safest bets, because you have basically been, you're basically seeing that the 9 banks are selecting these assets. They're probably not going to change their mind. They've probably already had their position set from way back when. I mean, you go look at like XDC, for instance. I mean, XDC has gone absolutely insane. And let's just see. I mean, from May of this year up until the highs, I mean...
Was that even on the radar before May, June?
Yeah, XDC, actually, I don't think that chart's accurate. I think this one's coming from KuCoin. I think that they recently added it around that time. I'd have to find a different one. Maybe, let me see here. But yeah, I mean, like XDC, for instance, is going to be, settled in, or uses a smart contract token on the Quarter blockchain. I think if you're going to line yourselves with anything, I mean, you got XDC, XRP, XLM, Algo, and IOTA. I think that if you're going to align yourselves in any of those, and I'd say the top two out of or top two, top three out of those, XRP, XDC, XLM. I mean,
Algorand.
those seem well, yeah. And Algorand, yeah, coming from MIT, we did a couple videos on that, right? You had Silvio McCallie who developed Algorand over at MIT around the same time that Gensler was teaching blockchain technology over there. He won the Turing Award, which we talked about for his discoveries in blockchain and digital cash, and so and now you have what was the article I just released the other day? It was the Fed, the Boston Fed was looking to use MIT. They were leaning on MIT to utilize their CBDCs or create them or somehow be involved with them. And then you go ahead and you trace back, Coinbase, Circle, the Center Consortium, Circle funded by Goldman Sachs. They're utilizing Algorand, which came out of MIT. I mean, all the connections are there. Really, it's just finding them and kind of seeing how it all ties together. But
well, it's not a coincidence that Gary, the head of the SEC, was teaching blockchain at MIT. I mean, things like that just don't fall in your lap.
Yeah, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but Gensler was former Goldman Sachs as well.
So it looks
actually, let me type it in here. Goldman Sachs, Gensler, SEC. Was he part of? Yeah, Gensler worked at Goldman Sachs right there. Okay. SEC.gov.
He's at the table for sure.
Yeah, so you're tying. Let's do a find here. Goldman. Yeah, okay. So prior to his public service, Gensler worked at Goldman Sachs, where he became a partner in the mergers and acquisitions department, head of the firm's media group, led fixed income and currency trading in Asia, and was co-head of finance, responsible for the firm's worldwide controllers and treasury efforts. So this dude knows a lot of people. He's been in the game for a while. He's obviously been part of the government, part of the SEC, part of Goldman Sachs. Like, these guys tend to
well, I think they wanted to appoint someone that had their nose in it and knows what's going on. I think they knew it was coming. They knew that they had to address it, and he's the man they thought was going to take it to the next step, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. So, and then going back to XDC, right? So XDC up from the lows, June of 2019, 130,971%. Right? So, it's crazy, right? So, how much gas does this one have left in the tank? I don't know, but I mean, the volume started coming in around here, which is hardly anything, and it's really tapered off here, and so who knows? All you have to do is, hey, according to blockchain, XDC, XDC had Andre Casterman appointed to help Zinfin, and he was coming over from 20 years working at Swift, right? So Swift, they write the ISO protocol. They've decided which assets they're going to use. XDC is one of them. XRP, XLM, and then you have the Bank of America patents mentioning XRP. I mean, the list goes on. It's crazy how you're basically watching the new financial system being built right in front of your eyes, and these are all the big players that are kind of leading everybody that direction. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with Bitcoin and how Bitcoin, if it prevails out of all this, because right now, in my opinion, I mean, it's just old technology, is developed. The white paper was 2009, and now you have all these companies that are funding these blockchains that are utilizing assets that settle instantly, that use hardly any emissions. There's very, very positive for the environment. You're not having to run, 15 million computers to run a network. You can literally just go ahead and utilize one of these one of these consensus algorithm protocols, like with XRP or XLM, that hardly use any energy at all. I mean, that's the shift. That's what people are going to probably gravitate towards, especially as you have, what was it, the Staples Center is now climate change arena or whatever. Crypto arena. Yeah, crypto.com. And then, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the Seattle Kraken. They're like climate change arena or something weird like that. But nonetheless, crypto's becoming in the spotlight right now, and there's probably going to be a way that they start segueing out of the cryptocurrencies that are quote unquote bad for the environment, and then utilizing the ones like XRP that are using the consensus algorithm that don't use any energy up at all, and it's going to be an easy sell, especially if and when the settlement takes place. Or I don't think it's going to be a settlement. It's got to be like a definitive win to really do anything great for the crypto community. But XRP, in all reality, he's probably going to be the first through the door here. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it plays out. It'll be interesting. But yeah, do we got any other questions that we got to address here?
Well, other than, on the flip side of that is, what is the time frame you think on the shitcoin, so to speak? I know there's money to be made in Sheeb and all these coins that won't stand the test of time. But when does that go away? When does it go to zero? Does it go to zero? Is it regulation that gets rid of these that don't have an application in the real world?
That's a great question. I mean, it really just depends on the regulators and what they want to do. If they're starting to say like, "Hey, we're going to get rid of these assets that are meme coins, and we're going to only allow exchanges to trade these set currencies," I mean, that could be a possibility. And what are those set currencies going to be? They're probably going to be utilizing ones that are going to be used for big business and central bank digital currencies. And we know XLM is going to be utilized for central bank digital currencies. And now that these other ones are getting tapped, like this Algorand and USDC end up being the digitized version of the fiat monetary system, that fiat dollars that the U.S. uses. Maybe, I don't know if fiat's ever going to go away completely, but especially since most money is digital already. I mean, everything's just ones and zeros on a computer screen anyways. But the blockchain, that's where you can basically track, trace, and tax every transaction if they kind of get everybody to gravitate over towards that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that no matter what your favorite asset is, it's going to be prone to a 80 to 90% correction. Whatever the high is, plan on it falling. I think that the utility bull run, which I don't know if we're going to be experiencing this year, knowing that the ISO protocol is going to start getting utilized in November, or if that takes place after we have a crazy market crash, or this cyber pandemic that we discussed in the other video. I mean, who really knows? But I'd say the most important thing to do is just to capitalize on suppressed assets, no matter what they are. They're not regulating the Sheebs, the Doges, or any of those other assets. So if you see an opportunity in them, you can take them. I think that those two in particular are probably really far extended, and I would not put my money in those. But I think that if you have an opportunity, let's say Come Rocket, maybe you take it if you see that it's dropped significantly. Oh, speaking of which, I just noticed it's at the top of my list here. Wow, look at that candle on the weekly here. Let's go and I'm not advising to buy Come Rocket, obviously, but if you see an opportunity, like all that volume coming in here, I don't know. I think you can probably take advantage of those meme coins for this run up, but who knows if they're going to be here for the next run. If you were to go back and look and see what assets were in the top 10 in 2017, you wouldn't even, I mean, if you're new to the space or you've only been in the space for a couple of years, you probably wouldn't even recognize them. Mm-hmm. And so, but XRP, that's been a staple. Litecoin has been a staple. Bitcoin Cash, obviously Ethereum, even Ethereum Classic. And what else? I mean, Dash has been around for a long time. So, those are still kind of hanging out. They're still in the top 25, most of those assets. So, yeah, you really got to do your due diligence. And, if anything, like I said, if you're going to build a short-term portfolio, you can be a little riskier going with those other assets that are meme coins. But if you're trying to build something long-term to pass down to your kids, I would more than likely be choosing the ISO coins. And that's probably all I would choose, because anything else could just be a gamble at that point. So,
and it all kind of comes back to spreading your money over multiple assets, hedging your bets on some, and if you have it all in one basket, you get screwed.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at that. BTC dominance is continuing to fall. We'll see if that ends up being positive here for the altcoins. Generally speaking, when that does happen, alts do take off, but we still haven't seen any of those crazy gains. I'm looking for some of these assets to do like a crazy 75, 80, 90, 100% gain in a day to really signify that we're going into a
you and me both
bull market for the altcoins. But we haven't seen it yet. Is there one final shakeout? I don't know. With like the liquidity, all that liquidity got sucked up on that last shakeout. I mean, how much more is really left, right? I feel like they'd have to have Bitcoin rise in order to bring fresh powder, fresh liquidity into the market to do anything. So we'll see. Time will tell. It's so hard to call tops and bottoms on these things, but those are some of the indicators we're looking for here. But I think even Bitcoin dominance could come back up to 39.9, 40%. that would still give the alt some breathing room and might still entice some people back into the market, thinking that Bitcoin's going to continue on. And generally, I think as Backer said, on those retraces in Bitcoin, those retraces up is generally when you start to see the altcoins do their thing. So hopefully we got a perfect storm coming up here, and knowing that the rates are going to be risen here in March, or so they say, interest rates, maybe we'll get a nice little run up here before that takes place.
Absolutely.
So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think with that being said, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys for checking out the video. If you guys want to support the channel, you can sign up for the newsletter in the link below. Otherwise, we'll catch you guys all in the next video.
Take care.